Welcome to the 7 o'clock talk. And tonight's going to be a little bit of a prelude to the energy summit that we're going to do on February 28th. And so tonight we're going to talk about energy and we're going to show you some case studies with our patients who have now been doing the process for quite some time. Anything you want to add to that? So we're going to dig right into this and we're going to look at what is going with what we see happening with people. And so this is one of our patients that's been with us for a couple of years. And what we see is when they're starting out, they're in between 190 different symptoms. Hi, Kath. And so when we see this, and we see a pattern like this a lot, we see the roll, I call it the roller coaster, but the pattern starts here, and then they get symptoms, and then you get pretty good, and then it comes back because you're always peeling a layer off of the onion, and then you got another layer to deal with. And then this person goes up and then they come back down. And since we're talking about energy, what I want to do is flip over to this next page. Went too many pages. And we can see right away when we look at the bottom, and this is self-reported. So we see the energy level here, and they start at an 8, and the higher the number, the worse it is. So when it's going down, it's better. And remember, this is self-reported. So in medicine and in hospitals, when it's self-reported, is that more reliable or less reliable?
Well, it's more because you're not modifying it in any way. There's no bias there. It's whatever you think it is.
And so if we look at that going across, they were as high as an 8 and now as low as a 2. So the energy symptoms that this person is experiencing, they're getting better. And this is done through a process. And we're going to start to address that. And basically, I'm calling it getting your mojo back. And we're going to start to address that and how you can start to get your mojo back. And that is one patient. And now this patient, we can see started at between 50 and 55 symptoms. And just so you know, when people are down in that 20 symptoms, that's when life is rocking and rolling with them. But once again, we see the roller coaster. We see it go down, come back up, and then go back down. And usually something happens. Like when this was happening with this person, they had a tooth removed and they went on antibiotics and screwed up their microbiome, and it jumped back up. And then we had to start to go through and readdress the microbiome and bring that back online. And then, of course, we see their symptoms all get better and the profile gets better. And that's exactly what we want to see. The funny thing about this one is energy here. She got one more symptom in energy. So I do expect this to actually be going back down because energy comes from mitochondria, and mitochondria are fed by hormones and they're fed by fiber, and your body, when it senses stuff, it will secrete hormones. We're not going to get super in the weeds on the master class about that stuff, but we just want to make sure that people realize that, well, what's the analogy, the burning house analogy?
Well, you don't go in and fix up a burned house. You got to tear it down and kind of fix it from the studs and floor up.
So you got to get in there and you got to pull out all the old stuff that's torn up, and then you got to look at the wiring, like she said, look at the studs, and then you can start to replace that, and then you can start to close the house back up. So in our system, we actually deal with energy first, because if you don't feel good, if you don't have the neurotransmitters, if you don't have the hormones, then you don't feel like doing anything. So It is a process. And generally, the last thing that happens is we get the energy going, we get the brain working, and then we start to work on the microbiome. And last but not least, we do detox. And as we do that, then people really, really come back online, and then they can lose weight easier. They can do these types of things, but we've got to see progress throughout that thing. So on the third patient now, and once again, this person started at between 75 and 80 symptoms. And when we go here and look at their final, and if we look at energy was at a 12, as high as a 12, and now at the lowest, a 3. And so when we, like I said before, when we see that 3, we know that there's not a lot of effect. And so we really like that we've helped this person's energy, because this is the way that it is supposed to work. And if you don't have energy, I mean, what happens when you don't have energy? You can't heal.
Can't do anything, really.
You
Affects you physically, emotionally.
Well, you can't break down and digest things. And then this is where you have to get into the nuances of stuff. When you're looking at these things, this is why we do a BIA with people, because we can look at how well the cells have the bilipid layer and can they bring nutrition in. And then when we look at organic acids and stuff like that, do you have what you need to produce energy, to produce mitochondria, to keep mitochondria healthy? And then if you have that in the bloodstream, is it really getting in there? And are you having what needs to be excreted in the proper ratios? So it's very, very important to really address energy and know that if you're having issues with energy, that's the first, that's a linchpin. And if you pull that pin, everything else starts to fall down. The stomach can't heal. You get leaky gut. The thyroid doesn't work. It just starts a cascade of sickness and illness. So be prepared to join us either virtually or live on February 28th at the Jennings County Library, or I will have, for people that register, I'll have a link and we'll send that out so that people can register. There is a limit on the registrations. I got to go look at that. But if we have that many people, we'll just have to do it again. Anything else you want to add?
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, thank you. And you all have a wonderful evening.